if you really want to be an entrepreneur, decide which is the broad area you want to work with based on your strengths, and get an experience in a company, not a large company. You have to be a part of a startup or a small organization and be ready to roll up sleeves, because if you are a part of a very large organization, you get to do a very limited role. You could be a brand manager in a company, but you only are exposed to how to manage a brand. That's not something which an entrepreneur has to deal with issues holistically, managing a P&L account. So I think the best experience for any young manager who wants to become an entrepreneur is to identify which fields excite him, for example, IT or e-commerce, and then identify certain organizations which will give him exposure, smaller organizations where he will get to do a lot of things. The breadth will be wide, the depth may not be as much, but I think it's very important to get the breadth right, because then you get a holistic picture of how a business is managed. So it's better to join a small startup or a small organization or a consulting organization which is dealing with, say, e-commerce, because then you are exposed to a variety of situations in a consulting assignment. But the key thing is not to start with a large organization where the role will be limited. There will be a lot of depth in that particular role, but you will get such a limited perspective of that business that you will never be able to understand what it means to be an entrepreneur. I think fundamentally there is a belief, there has to be a belief that I am not independent, I am interdependent. This world is based on interdependency, not independence. I may be the best student in my class, but there is a lot for me to learn, not necessarily from an older generation person, but an older generation who is not as qualified as me. I can learn as much from a worker who is much older because of his experience. So there is a trade-off, older person has more of experience, wisdom, because he has lived through many experiences. The younger person has knowledge. So how do you marriage knowledge with the experiences and the wisdom, So for an older person, it's very important to leverage the fresh thinking which youth is bringing about, with the new knowledge which he is bringing about, and marry it with the wisdom he's developed over a period of time. And for the youth, it's very important to rely and actually learn from the older person without having any ego and with an open mind, and to actually learn from his wisdom based on his experiences. I think a young leader, if I had to recruit somebody, I would first of all look at his drive and his ambition. Is he really ambitious? Does he have a burning desire to succeed? Because that has to come from within, no amount of motivation beyond a point is going to work. That has to be internally led, that I am very, very ambitious. Because if you are ambitious, if you have the inner drive, you will overcome all the obstacles. You will try harder and harder. You will be hardworking, you will overcome obstacles, you will be far more interdependent, you will have a learning, you will take risks, you will innovate, So I think that's the first, burning desire to succeed. Number two, working with people. It's very important to work with people and get yourself accepted, because you are, many times I've seen some young leaders have an ego because they think that they've arrived in life. And actually that's a big, big myth, They may have arrived in the terms of their own scores or in their own campuses or topping their campuses, or because many companies vie for that talent in terms of recruiting. But that's a myth, The life is overall, learning is a lifelong experience. You have to go on learning all the time. So I think they have to be open to learning. They have to work with people and forget their egos. Number three, risk-taking and innovation. I think every person has to take risks and innovate, because unless you innovate, you will be in a Me Too category as an individual or for your work or for the business. So I think that's the third thing. Number fourth is having a growth mindset. It's very important for any organization to grow top line. So we need to have individuals who believe that we need to grow. And lastly, clarity in thinking, because many times you have many options to pursue and you need to decide which is a better option to pursue. So if you have a clear thinking, then you will not get confused and you will have a clear path in terms of what you want to pursue. Yeah, I think two, I would say. When I started off in the year 71, long time back, it was a family managed organization and it was completely managed by family. We had three different businesses, and one of them was edible oils business, which was in bulk edible oils. And I remember at that time some of my some other companies in the similar business had also some youngsters joining them, and most of them, they pursued that edible oil business with a trading mindset. At that time the imports had opened up, so everybody started pursuing imports of edible oil as in a big way. And my thinking was a little different. My thinking was, can I actually convert this business from unbranded to branded? So what I did in the first 10, 15 years was to actually convert the whole business, which was unbranded, to a branded business. And looking back, I think that was the right step, because if I had pursued the trading business, it has its own ups and downs. Very difficult for anybody to predict what will happen to the rupee or the dollar, or what will happen to edible oil prices, because it's impossible to predict. There are so many factors which impact prediction, and then the business doesn't become as sustainable, as viable. As against that, if you build a brand which is a strong brand, then it's there for you all your life. Then you are actually building a very strong business. So I think that shift from trading mindset to a branded consumer goods company, which I was able to bring about, I would say that that was one of my biggest eureka moments, as you may call it. The second one was when actually it reached a certain stage when, as a part of Bombay Oil Industries in the late 80s, we were a part of 3 different businesses which did not have any synergies. So I had to tell the family that this business requires a different type of focus. It requires talent attraction. That means I need to create an image for this business. I need to be in office which has to be far more attractive to attract talent. Since there is no synergy between these 3 different businesses, can actually the consumer product business of Bombay Oil Industries be spun off into a different company? And that's how Marico began operations in the year 1990 at this office. So I think that formation of Marico gave me a great opportunity to give thrust to the culture part of Marico, to attract good talent, and finally it led to our growth and going public and launching of new products, acquisitions and things like that. I am very happy that ET has started this program last year, and I'm still happier that they're continuing this with much more vigor. And from whatever I know of, and I've interacted with many individuals, the interest this year is dramatically much higher compared to the last year. So I think this program is here to stay, and it is evoking a very positive response from the youth, from the young leaders, and I'm very happy about it, because ultimately we would like to see more and more young leaders not only vying for winning this, but vying to learn from this. My advice to those who apply would be to actually not only apply, but study what is happening, who are the winners and why are the winners. Go through all the website, whatever is talked about in the website, and learn from them, because learning is actually will take you far more further than just winning awards.